Before the chaos, before the betrayal, there was Isla. She wasn't the kind of woman who needed the world to notice her. She just wanted her own little corner of it, warm, quiet, and safe. At 32 years old, Isla lived in Spokane, Washington, a peaceful city filled with gentle hills, Sunday markets, and neighbors who still waved across the street. She had a small kitchen in her apartment that always smelled like cinnamon and brown sugar, because Isla loved to bake. No, needed to bake. It wasn't just a passion, it was her peace. Cookies for her neighbors, scones for her sister, vanilla cupcakes with whipped cream frosting that looked like little clouds. Baking made her feel useful, loved, in control. But more than that, Isla dreamed of filling that kitchen with something even sweeter: laughter, tiny feet on the floor, a husband who kissed her on the forehead as she stirred batter at dawn. She didn't want fame, she didn't want riches. She just wanted love that stayed. And when she met Liam, polished, charming, a man who listened and laughed at all the right moments, she thought she had finally found it. But what Isla didn't know was that sometimes the softest hearts attract the sharpest blades. Then came Liam. He wasn't flashy, he didn't show off, he simply appeared. A warm smile, a steady voice, a man who actually listened, not just waited for his turn to speak. He noticed the little things. The way Isla always tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous, how she double-checked the oven even when the timer had barely gone off. He made her laugh without trying too hard, and he looked at her like she mattered. After years of being overlooked, Isla felt seen. He said all the right things. He spoke of family, commitment, building a future together. And within months, he was down on one knee. A simple ring, a heartfelt promise. It wasn't extravagant. It didn't need to be. For Isla, this wasn't just a proposal. It was acceptance, validation, a dream finally unfolding. She said yes, not with doubt, not with fear, but with her whole heart. And when she said yes to Liam, she thought she was saying yes to safety, to forever, to love. But what she didn't know was that some storms don't come with thunder. Some storms arrive in silence, wearing a tailored suit and saying, "I love you." The wedding was beautiful, not extravagant, but sweet, intimate. Isla wore soft lace. Liam looked at her like she was the only person in the world. For a moment, everything felt right, but the cracks came early. Not loud, not obvious, just hairline fractures in the glass. Grace, Liam's mother, smiled politely, but her eyes never warmed. She spoke to Isla like she was being tolerated, not welcomed. "I'm sure you'll adjust," she said after the wedding. Not, "Welcome to the family," not, "We're happy to have you." And Tiffany, she didn't even pretend. The first time Isla saw her roll her eyes, it was while Isla was talking about her baking. The second time, Isla was sharing her dream of opening a small bakery someday. Tiffany interrupted with a smirk. "Oh, quaint." They never said the words directly, but Isla could feel it. She didn't belong. She told herself it was a matter of time, that love would smooth the edges, that Liam, her husband, would protect her. But even Liam began to change. When Isla quietly brought up the comments, the coldness, the way she felt out of place, Liam would sigh. "Babe, they just need time. Don't take everything so personally." Or worse, "It's just how they are." He wasn't cruel, he wasn't unkind, he was neutral. And that neutrality, it felt like abandonment wearing a polite smile. Still, Isla held on. She baked more, smiled wider, loved harder. Because sometimes when the picture frame starts to crack, you convince yourself it's just a reflection, not the beginning of something breaking. After the wedding, Liam had a plan. "We'll move into my parents' place for a while," he said, "just to save money, maybe a year tops." Isla hesitated, but she wanted to be supportive. She told herself it was temporary, just a stepping stone. But a while turned into 2 years, and the house, it wasn't a home, not for Isla. She wasn't a guest, she wasn't family. She was convenient. She cooked, she cleaned, She smiled politely when Grace criticized her seasoning. She bit her tongue when Tiffany mocked the way she folded towels. She did it all, not out of fear, but out of hope. Hope that if she loved hard enough, they'd eventually love her back. But love doesn't bloom in cold soil. Every day, Isla felt herself shrinking, not because she lacked strength, but because she didn't want to make waves. She told herself she was being a good wife. That sacrifice was part of the role, that enduring was a sign of strength. But the truth, she was slowly disappearing in a house that never saw her, and no one even noticed. It didn't happen all at once. No one slammed a door, no one screamed. There was no obvious line crossed, but day by day, Isla began to feel invisible. It started with the dinners. They'd eat without her. Not because she was late, but because no one bothered to tell her dinner was ready. Then came the whispers, the half smiles exchanged between Grace and Tiffany when she entered the room, the conversations that paused when Isla walked in and never resumed. Her name rarely came up, and when it did, it was only followed by sighs or sarcasm. "You're still doing that little baking thing?" Tiffany would say. Grace would glance over and add, "Well, I suppose hobbies keep a woman occupied." Then Liam, the man who once noticed every detail, started pulling away too. At first, it was late work meetings. Then it became entire evenings on his phone. He stopped asking how her day was. He stopped laughing at her silly jokes. He stopped noticing when she cried. And Isla, she stopped showing it. She learned how to cry in the shower, how to smile with a lump in her throat, how to say, "I'm okay," and make it sound believable. It wasn't physical abuse. There were no bruises on her skin, only in her soul, because this was emotional starvation, being denied love, warmth, and connection, one silent dinner at a time. At some point, Isla stopped talking, not because she had nothing to say, but because she knew no one was listening. She didn't complain when Tiffany left her dishes in the sink. She didn't ask why Grace slammed doors louder when she walked by. She didn't even mention when Liam forgot their anniversary. Instead, she folded towels, refilled the sugar jar, rubbed lotion into her swollen ankles in the dark. She smiled when she needed to, laughed when it made others comfortable, apologized when silence became too awkward. Isla wasn't just being quiet, she was slowly erasing herself, and no one noticed, not even Liam. But Isla still had one fragile thread of hope left, the baby. Maybe when the baby arrived, things would change. Maybe Grace would see her as a mother. Maybe Tiffany would grow up. Maybe Liam would remember what they once were. Because when you're starved of love, you start to believe that pain is just a phase, that maybe, just maybe, your reward is coming. But sometimes, the silence we accept becomes the silence that buries us. In a house where she felt invisible, Isla found one place she still existed, the kitchen. It wasn't hers, but in those early morning hours, before the others woke up, the kitchen belonged to her. She would mix flour and sugar like she was mixing pieces of herself back together. She kneaded dough as if pressing strength into her hands. Cinnamon rolls, lemon tarts, blueberry muffins. It wasn't about impressing anyone anymore. It wasn't for praise. It was survival. So Isla started taking online orders, quietly, secretly. Cookies for baby showers, cupcakes for office parties, little notes that read, "Baked with love." No one in the house noticed or cared. But the outside world, the people ordering, they noticed. They said things like, "These are amazing. You made our event so special. Thank you for putting love into every bite." And every time Isla saw a message like that, she felt something spark inside her, something warm, something she hadn't felt in a long time, worth. Her oven became her sanctuary. Her orders became her oxygen. And baking became the one thing no one could take from her. Not Grace, not Tiffany. Not even Liam. It was supposed to be just another night, another dinner party hosted by Grace, only this one Isla wasn't invited to attend. She was expected to prep the food, clean the kitchen, and disappear upstairs before the guests arrived. Tiffany strutted around in heels, wearing Isla's favorite perfume without asking. Grace waved her hand and said, "Just stay out of sight, dear. It's not your crowd." Isla's feet were swollen. Her back ached. She was 7 months pregnant and exhausted, but she stayed silent, again. After the party, when the guests had left and the house fell quiet, Isla came downstairs to clean. That's when she saw Grace pacing the living room, eyes wild, voice sharp. "It's gone," she hissed. "What's gone?" Isla asked. "My grandmother's bracelet, 4 generations old, $12,000. It was on my dresser this morning." Then Tiffany entered, arms crossed. "You were the only one upstairs today." Isla blinked, shocked. "No, I didn't go in your room. I've been in the kitchen all day." But Grace's eyes turned to ice. "You've been struggling, haven't you? Selling little cookies online? Maybe you needed extra cash." Isla's voice cracked. "I would never steal from you. I'm your daughter-in-law. I'm carrying your grandchild." Tiffany scoffed. "Some women think a baby makes them family. It doesn't." Then Liam walked in, and for a second, Isla thought he'd defend her. She looked into his eyes, pleading, but all he said was, "Let's not escalate this. Let's give it a day or two. Maybe it'll turn up." No anger, no defense, just silence. That silence screamed louder than any accusation, and Isla knew this wasn't just a setup, it was a warning. You're not one of us, and if you won't leave quietly, we'll push you out. After the bracelet incident, everything shifted. Doors that were once open were now locked. The Wi-Fi password changed. No one told Isla. Tiffany made sure her phone screen was hidden, turned away, face down. She even whispered in the hallway, loud enough for Isla to hear but not understand. "She'll be out soon. She's not one of us. He's almost done with her." Liam still said nothing. Meals were served, but not for Isla. Conversations happened, but never included her. She was present but excluded, breathing but invisible, a ghost in her own life. And every day it got worse. Her room felt colder, the air heavier. She stopped leaving her space, stopped asking questions, stopped trying. Because the more she tried, the more she was punished, with silence, with stares, with the weight of being unwanted. And Liam, the man who promised to protect her, became the loudest silence in the room, not with his fists, not with his words, but with his absence, his refusal to see her. And that kind of silence, it doesn't bruise the skin, it bruises the soul. The pain hit suddenly, a sharp pull in her lower back, a tightening in her belly like a cramp that wouldn't let go. Isla grabbed the kitchen counter, breathed, counted, tried to stay calm. It happened again, stronger. She was 8.5 months pregnant, not full term, but close enough for labor. "Liam," she called, breath shaky. Another wave. She winced, holding her side. "We need to go. I think it's time." He came downstairs, slowly, phone still in hand. Eyes glued to the screen, he barely looked up. Then he called for Grace, told Tiffany to grab her coat. "We're all going," he said. "They're family, they're concerned." Isla wanted to protest. She didn't want an audience. She needed support, not surveillance. But the contractions were getting closer, and she didn't have the strength to fight. She sat in the front seat, hands on her belly, breathing through the pain. Behind her, Grace and Tiffany whispered. Then Grace spoke. Low, cold. "Maybe now's a good time to confess, Isla, before you give birth to a child you don't deserve." Isla turned her head, stunned. "What?" Tiffany leaned forward. "The bracelet. We know you took it." Grace added, And if you don't admit it, we're not going to the hospital. We're going to the police. Isla gasped. I'm in labor. What is wrong with you? You won't use this baby as a shield, Grace hissed, not to dodge the consequences. She looked at Liam. He stared straight ahead, said nothing, not a word, and that was louder than a scream. The pain was unbearable now, contractions closer, harder. Isla was bent forward, gripping her seatbelt, breathing in broken gasps. Still, they pushed her. Confess, Isla. Just say you did it. Make it easy. She shook her head, teeth clenched. I didn't steal anything. Another wave of pain hit sharp, crippling. Her water broke, warmth soaked through her dress. Her hands trembled. I need a hospital, she cried. Her voice cracked. I'm not okay. But Liam didn't speed up. He slowed down. The road was dark, empty, no headlights ahead, no city lights behind. Then he pulled over. The car jerked to a stop on the side of a lonely stretch of highway. Isla blinked, confused. What are you doing? Liam stepped out, came around to her side, opened the door. Get out, he said. Her breath caught. What? No, Liam, please. You're not coming back to our house, he said flatly. You want to accuse my family? Play the victim? Do it on your own. He grabbed her arm, pulled. Not hard enough to injure, just enough to make her fall. Her knees hit gravel, her hands scraped asphalt, and then agony. A contraction slammed into her like a train. She screamed, not just from the pain, but from the truth. He really did this. She looked up. Tiffany was outside the car, arms folded. Grace got back in, calm as ever. She wanted to leave so bad, Grace muttered. Let her. Then the car door slammed, and they drove off, leaving Isla, alone, in labor, on the side of the highway, in the dark. No phone, no help, just pain. The gravel dug into her knees, her palms bled, her breath came in sharp, uneven sobs. Isla was alone, in labor, abandoned. She screamed for help, but the night was wide and cruel, empty, no headlights, no sounds, just the wind and pain. She pressed her hands to the cold earth, whispered through gritted teeth, "Please, someone." And then a light, far ahead, headlights. A truck slowed. A horn honked once. A woman's voice called out, "Are you okay?" Isla couldn't lift her head. She just nodded, sobbing. In seconds, the woman, Rachel, was kneeling beside her, warm hand on Isla's back, phone in her other hand. "Hang on, sweetheart. Help's on the way." Her voice steady, grounding. Isla clung to that voice. To that stranger. Like an anchor in a storm. The ambulance arrived minutes later. Paramedics rushed her onto the stretcher. She was soaked, bruised, shaking. Pain blurred her vision. Terror blurred her thoughts. The ER was bright, cold. Voices shouted orders. Machines beeped. Hands moved fast across her body. Then everything went numb. She was going into emergency surgery. An oxygen mask, a blinding light, the rush of wheels beneath her. Then a cry, sharp, raw, alive. Her baby! Eli! The sound cut through everything, through the fear, the cold, the betrayal. Isla sobbed, not from pain, but from life. "He's here," a nurse whispered. "He's okay." And in that moment, Isla knew, even if the world had broken her, she had just given birth to something stronger. Isla woke to the soft beeping of machines, a pale ceiling, the scent of antiseptic, pain in her belly, dull but real. Then she heard a whisper, her name. Isla? She turned her head. Her mother, her father, Natalie, all standing there, tears in their eyes, hands clenched in silence. They knew everything. Her mom reached out, held her hand, firm, steady. Not a word spoken. She didn't need words. Isla tried to speak. "I'm sorry, I didn't call." But her mother shook her head. "Don't apologize. Not for surviving." Natalie wiped her face, furious and broken. "He left you on the highway while you were in labor. I'll never forgive that." The room was quiet, but it throbbed with emotion. Then the nurse entered, soft-spoken, professional, kind. "We've documented everything," she said gently. "The bruises, the early labor, the 911 call, the witness's statement, the footage from her dash cam." A file sat on the bedside tray. Proof, not just trauma. The nurse added, "If you ever want to talk to someone about reporting this, we can help." And in that moment, Isla felt it. The shift, the flicker. This wasn't just a story of survival anymore. It was the beginning of justice. While Isla healed in a hospital bed, Rachel, the stranger who saved her, was already taking action. She handed over the dashcam footage, clear, unedited. It showed the exact moment she found Isla bleeding barefoot in labor on the side of the highway. The 911 call, recorded, timestamped, filed. Every word Isla screamed, every breath she fought for. And that was just the beginning. Police followed protocol. They visited the Carter house. Tiffany was out, but her roommate wasn't. A quiet knock, a few questions, then a tip. The search warrant came hours later. Officers entered Tiffany's apartment. Inside, a glittery pink makeup bag, shoved under a pile of hair tools and perfume, the missing bracelet, 4 generations old, valued at $12,000, lying quietly in a zippered pouch, just waiting. The theft accusation exposed. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was criminal. And Isla, she finally had what every survivor prays for: proof. For the first time in a long time, Isla didn't feel like a victim. She sat in front of a lawyer, back straight, voice steady. Her name was Claire Winters, a family attorney known for defending survivors. Isla didn't flinch. She told Claire everything. No filters, no sugarcoating. The verbal abuse, the isolation, the night on the highway, the push, the pain, the fear. And Claire, she listened, then looked her in the eyes and said, "We're not just filing for divorce. We're filing for full custody, and we're pressing charges." That was the moment Isla's hands stopped shaking. She signed the paperwork. Every stroke of ink felt like a blade cutting ties. Not from a husband, but from a life that nearly destroyed her. Police built the case. Every file, every bruise photo, every time-stamped call. They had Rachel's footage, the 911 logs, the hospital report. And now, they had Isla's voice no longer whispering, but testifying. She was no longer running, she was fighting. And this time, she wasn't alone. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of the gavel hitting wood. Guilty. That single word echoed like thunder. Liam Carter, the man who once kissed Isla's hands and promised her forever, was sentenced to 3 years in state prison. No parole, no early release. His charges? Domestic battery, child endangerment, wrongful abandonment of a pregnant spouse. He didn't cry, he didn't plead. He just looked at Isla, stone-faced, as if she was the one who failed him. But she didn't look back. Grace and Tiffany, they didn't escape justice either. The judge reviewed the messages on Grace's phone, texts between her and Tiffany plotting to get rid of Isla before the baby comes. They called it family business. The court called it malicious family endangerment. The result? A permanent restraining order, fines, court-mandated psychological counseling, and most importantly, a lifetime ban from having any contact with Eli. They walked out of the courtroom, pale, hollow, defeated. And Isla? She walked out holding her baby boy free. The room was quiet again, not from fear, not from tension, but from something else entirely: relief. The judge looked straight at Isla, His voice was calm, certain, final. You are granted full legal and physical custody of your son. Isla didn't cry this time. She didn't flinch. She simply looked down at Eli in her arms. He was asleep, little chest rising and falling like the calm after a storm. For the first time, Isla wasn't scared. She wasn't waiting for permission, or validation, or Liam's silence to break. She was free. Free from lies, from fear, from that house. And as she walked out of the courtroom, sunlight hit her face. Her hands didn't shake. Her heart didn't race. Her story wasn't over, but the worst part was, she didn't want them punished. Not really. She didn't dream of Grace in handcuffs, or Tiffany crying in court, or Liam behind bars. What she wanted was silence. Not the kind she used to live in, the one filled with shame and isolation, but a new kind of silence, the silence of freedom. No more walking on eggshells, no more being watched, no more being someone she wasn't. Isla didn't chase revenge, she chased herself, and now she'd found her. With Eli in her arms, she wasn't thinking of the past anymore. She was dreaming of flower-covered counters, cinnamon-scented mornings, and a life where her name wasn't whispered behind closed doors, but spoken with love. It started in her parents' kitchen, a small tray of scones, one Instagram post, 3 orders, then 12, then a message from a local mom. Your story made me cry. Your cookies made me smile. Thank you. Isla didn't plan for Eli's oven to become a symbol, but somehow it did. Her cinnamon rolls weren't just delicious, they were defiant. Each cupcake was soft but strong, like the woman who made them. Natalie designed the logo. Her father built the shelves. Her mother rocked Eli in the living room, while Isla baked with quiet focus. The smell of vanilla filled the air. And for the first time in a long time, Isla felt full. Full of purpose, full of life. Full of something sweet that couldn't be taken away. She didn't hire a PR team. She didn't post to go viral. She just wanted to be honest. So Isla wrote late at night after Eli was asleep, after the last batch of cupcakes had cooled. She posted one photo, then a caption. This isn't just a bakery. This is where I came back to life. And people listened. Hundreds of comments. Thousands of shares. Women writing, this is my story too. You gave me the courage to leave. Isla never named Liam, never posted court documents. She didn't need to. Her strength didn't come from proving the past. It came from owning the present. And somehow her quiet voice reached farther than any scream. It was a clear morning. No wind, no clouds, just the hum of tires on asphalt. Isla parked the car slowly. She didn't look scared. She didn't flinch. She opened the back seat, lifted her son into her arms, and walked to the edge of the road. This is where I thought it would all end, she whispered to him. But it didn't. The gravel was still there. So was the silence. But Isla was different. She wasn't broken. She wasn't small. She was a mother, a survivor, and a storyteller, standing tall on the very road where she was once left to die. She didn't cry. Instead, she smiled, then turned around. Behind her was not just her car, but her life, her bakery, her family, her truth. And as the sun rose higher, Isla whispered to Eli one last time, "This road didn't end me. It gave me the strength to begin." Sometimes your breaking point is your becoming point. Isla's story reminds us that survival isn't just about making it through. It's about reclaiming your voice, rebuilding with grace, and standing where you once fell with fire in your soul. Whether you've been silenced, hurt, or underestimated, know this: your power is still yours. Your story isn't over. And your healing, it could become someone else's hope. If Isla's journey moved you, if her strength stirred something in your soul, then don't let this be the last story you hear. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Like the video if it made you feel something. And hit subscribe to join Through Her Eyes, a space where real stories meet real healing.